Good morning, everyone. So, there have been interesting sessions since morning that we've been hearing about what's going to happen in franchising, and that's a very interesting topic that we're going to discuss. How do we really grow from 1 to 100? So, we have an esteemed panel with us, including domestic as well as international franchise companies. So, we can start from you, Grant. Yeah. So, what are the key steps involved in transitioning from a single store to multi-unit?
Um, I represent a company from the UK. We've grown from one public house in 1979 to 800 now, and are looking to franchise internationally for the first time. So what we're very good at is developing our own stores. We own 70% of our freeholds and operate 100% of the stores ourselves. And in the UK, we think there's growth for maybe another 200, which is why we've come around to thinking that we need to be looking internationally to grow our estate in the future. And so for us, actually, franchising will be a slight change of tack. We're very good at opening new stores. What we're not very experienced in is opening new stores with partners. So very much a learning experience for us at the moment.
And how about you?
Yeah, thanks. I've got a few points here I just jotted down because as I'm getting old, my memory's fading. But I think probably the most important step is to make sure that you've got a great product or a great service. And it's one that's desired by the customers that you're targeting. I see a lot of people that they fall in love with their product or their service, but they're the only ones that have fallen in love with it. The customers haven't. So I think that's a really important step. And to determine, know which target segment that you're chasing, and make sure that they really want that product. So I think that's really important. That's certainly helped us. So as an example, we're in the Asian segment, so we do Asian food quick. We also do burgers, but when we went to the US market, we decided just to take our Asian brand, which is Noodle Box, to that market, and not to take the burger brand, because I think the last thing that the US needs is more burgers. So we avoided that. I think probably the second step, once you've established you've got a product that's really desired by your segment, is create a system. And the previous speaker was talking about this as well. Create a system that's easy to replicate, easy to follow. Because I've seen some franchise systems that I think are quite complicated, and they wonder why operationally it's falling down. So you've got to be able to replicate that service, replicate that product optimally, or at every unit. It's quite easy when you've got your first restaurant or your first store. It's kind of manageable when you get to 10 or 20. But once you start crossing international boundaries and you're up to 150, then it becomes quite complicated. So you need to be able to, again, as the speaker said, be able to measure that as well. And lastly, I think there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help, that have good expertise. And so seek them out, find out who those partners are, who those suppliers are that have expertise to help you. So that's a couple.
Yeah, well said. Thanks. So particularly, you belong to a company that has different formats,
Yep.
right? And all of them, are into franchising, but in different areas.
Yes.
How did it really help you to understand, how do you really multiply? Because in India, a diagnostic chain can have a lot of numbers because the service is required and the concentration is much higher in comparison to food, as we've just spoken about. So how does that help? Because 1 to 100 is nothing in your case. I mean, in your case, it would be like 1 to 1,000 to
Yes.
start with.
So absolutely, as you rightly said, Ishita, the journey has to be planned well. So from 100 we have grown to 2,000 now. in just span of 5 years. So it has been a phenomenal journey, and it's thanks to our team, because without team you can't do such a expansion. But three, four key things what we have done is we have finalized the format first. So the look and feel was like the infra, as well as infra handbook was placed well in advance. So everybody has to has a same look and feel. Second part is SOPs. They need to have same SOPs across India, whether it is company-owned store or it is franchisee store. And third was the customer experience part. Customer experience has to be uniform. So for that, we have imparted trainings, development, and there is regular engagement with the phlebotomists as well as front office staff, because they are the face of the organization. And fourth is on the systems and processes. So we have uniformed all the retail prices, or you can say the billing packages. So there will be uniformity on in these four across India. So branding, infra, experience, and pricing. So these four things we have corrected. So that has given us very good results. And we are having various formats like clinics. We have sugar clinics, we have dental clinics. So all these are franchisee model. So we normally go into the micro catchments, and we study the demographics, and based on that we select the localities. So when it comes to the next point, I will explain about that as well.
Sure.
How we
Thanks.
go about selecting the locations and how we select the localities. How we go about.
Okay. And how about you, Aruna? Cleaning industry, that's something that we do every day at home. And India particularly is, we have a huge unorganized market, right? And we are spoiled as consumers. We want things like, we get anything in India, through the couple of hyper-local delivery formats, and we get everything in 10 to 12 minutes uh, wherever we are. Pretty much across at least half of India is what we get that. How do you manage that non-patient consumer in your category?
Yeah, so I think what we have also realized over the last 7 years since we started building UClean is that UClean is more of a convenience business than a cleaning business. So people come to us because they want the convenience of outsourcing their laundry, go to the application, place an order, and have someone at your doorstep do the pickup for you. And as we started expanding, what we also realized was that uh, so initially it was convenience. People would not want to clean their clothes at home. They would want someone to come to their doorstep and do the dirty laundry for them. And as the business started expanding, we also realized that there is a customer who is even more hard pressed for time. So he doesn't mind shelling out 100% extra as long as you're able to give the clothes, clean clothes back to them in within 60 minutes or within 120 minutes. And the more we have expanded, the more we have started to realize that as long as the service is there and you're able to consistently offer that service, people don't mind getting their proverbially getting their dirty linen washed outside. And that is what we have been focusing on. So across India, and so fortunately we are present in 155 cities today. And we are seeing that while initially this urgency was restricted more to the metro cities of India, but today wherever we are, uh, everywhere we are seeing that not just the general service of laundry and dry cleaning, even the express service where people want their clothes to be cleaned and delivered back to them in, say, in a couple of hours, and they don't mind paying 100% extras for that. So that is what we have been, whether we talk about the technology at the front end, so the way we are promoting UClean digitally, we are focusing more on the express service than the regular service, because we have started realizing that there is a huge customer base that would ideally want to subscribe to an emergency service or an urgent service, even if it's something as basic as laundry.
So, is there anything else, that should be taken care of, once you look at expansions majorly in India, since 155 cities is a good penetration, as far as India subcontinent is concerned. Is there anything else apart from this that you take care of when you look at expansions and you say that, okay, I can go to next, say 200 more pin codes?
So I think partner selection becomes very critical when we started franchising UClean. The honestly, it was early days, so the idea was that anyone who has money, anyone who puts money on the table, you bring him into the system. So we made a lot of mistakes. We got a lot of people with investor mindset. people who thought that they will just invest the money and the business will take care of its own, or the brand will actually do the business for them. We were also desperate, so whatever was offered, we didn't care whether the franchisee came from a city like Jamshedpur or from Guwahati. As long as he had money, we would take that money. We would literally grab that money and give him a franchisee. But 7 years later, today we realize that this formula doesn't work. You need people with an operator mindset. So there is, while obviously there is a sales team, there's a sales process, but there is much more transparency in that sales process, in the sense that we are looking for people who obviously need to have money, but they also need to have an operator mindset. They are willing to get involved. And I think because how complex India is. In fact, we opened 2 states last month, which were our last 2 states, Tamil Nadu and Manipur, and they are like as different as chalk and cheese. So that is something that, as a founder, as an owner, I've realized that while these might be 155 different cities, but given how complex India is, you have to literally treat each of these individual cities as countries in themselves, and then create. So our pricing, for example, is very different. So my pricing in, say, Itanagar in Arunachal Pradesh is very different from Delhi, which is very different from Dindigal in Tamil Nadu. And you have to, for a service business like us, you have to do a lot of customization before you can launch the product into the market.
So is that true for you as well in your segment?
Yeah, absolutely. As he rightly said, that we need to learn from our mistakes. Like only the investors are not good for franchisee business. So that we have also learned. So we have changed our selection criteria. So there is a thorough screening of the background. So normally we are preferring healthcare professionals who knows the business and person who is willing to dedicate 12 to 15 hours a day. That's very important. Because without a dedication or hard work from the investor or the entrepreneur, your business can't succeed. Whatever brand may support, whatever activities you do, without involvement of the entrepreneur, it's very difficult to turn around. Secondly, as you rightly said, each state is like different country. So we have also experienced that. So we customize our packages accordingly. So the offerings differs in market to market, and our communication also changes into the local language. So most of our digital content as well as print media also we use. So we have got different campaigns for India and Bharat. Like for metro cities, we have a different level of campaigns. So there are more outreach programs in metro cities. Like we go to micro catchments, we do patient awareness programs. We will run campaigns on diabetes or cardiac diseases. But when it comes to smaller cities, we'll do more of the screenings or more of the on-site with help of clinicians, because their clinician definitely influences the business. So that way we modulate our business.
That's interesting. So, John, you're one of the largest, franchise players in UK, and of course, it's a mature market when it comes to franchising in comparison to what India is today. What is it that really takes to get down to that level? You've really penetrated very well in that country. What does it really take to hold on to those franchisees? And you feel that, what is it that helped you? If you can, it's difficult, if you can sum it up for us, to understand what does it really take to hold on to them for that long as partners?
Yeah, I think that, as Grant said, a successful operation has to have a good system that is being boiled down. And that's what we have. Over many years, we've evolved a way of working, which I think makes the people that operate our stores, it makes it easier for them to do that, taking complex tasks and making them systematic. So what we have found is that the people that operate our units can gain much success by simply following what has evolved over the years. And they see that success, and I think it becomes a virtuous circle. We, for example, recently converted, we signed a new franchise in the UK on a holiday park, and they converted a unit that was already trading as a pub restaurant into the Wetherspoon format. They more than doubled their sales when they reopened following an amount of investment. And I spoke to the operator of the unit, and he said to me, we before in a whole week, we didn't serve as much food as we serve on one day now. And he said, but that's not the story. The story is it's easier. And so he was happier because by having that systematic, process-driven approach to operating a pub restaurant, he certainly had the desire, and you put the two together and you get great success. And so I think franchisees build on the platform of the operation, but what they put into themselves develops the success, and that's where they keep with it. And I think one of the best examples out in the world is McDonald's, who've been doing it for over 60 or 70 years, and they have an incredibly slow turnover of franchisees. People don't leave the system if it's a good system and they're successful.
But would you, would you do customization as per the city mark or an economic growth that's happening in a particular city, or the population, or the kind of pattern they're used to paying for a particular product or a service? Would you do that?
To an extent, I think that one of the adages that Wetherspoon sticks to is do what you do well. So don't try and reinvent yourself, be it for another territory or another area. Wherever we trade in large conurbations, and that would be the same. That would be true of India as it is in the UK. And so there's our philosophy is there is enough people around, the ones that like what you do, you'll find them. Having said that, no brand stands still. So about 10 years ago, we started to develop our order and pay app. And so essentially your phone is your own till in Wetherspoon now. And around 40% of all of our turnover goes through that order and pay app, which we developed from scratch and certainly pioneered in the UK. So a good business has to be adept at change, but I think if you try and change your format for that city or that city or that, you can sometimes confuse yourself. So our own view is do what you do well.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I just want to go back to what Arun and Dev were talking about, and to grow to your first 100 sites, there's kind of two things that you're going to have to do. We assume you've got a good product or a good service, a good offering that customers want, as we spoke about before. But I think the other two critical elements is the site selection. So you've got to get a good site, and the franchise partner selection. And if I could just share with the audience, one of the things that we've been doing recently is using a product called Zoracle. So that's with a Z, as in Oracle. And that does psychographic and psychological profiling of the franchise partners. So we make sure every franchise partner does this. It takes them about 40 minutes to do it. I think you can't break it. And for instance, what it tells us is those that want to follow a system. So we want entrepreneurs, but we don't want entrepreneurs that won't follow the system. And the Zoracle program is, and I've got no investment in this, but so let me declare that, but it is proving to be a great indicator and predictor of our best franchise partners. And what we did before we chose that product is we made every one of our franchise partners, so 150 people, do this profiling exercise. And then Zoracle, I said, can you break it down into our best, our worst, and our mediocre, medium? And it was 100% accurate in its prediction. So they didn't know the sales, we did. And so I just encourage you, because you're not going to grow to 100 if you put on 10 and lose 5, So, and all of us who have been in franchising for a long time know that you can change a poor performing site by putting another franchise partner in, or another manager, or another person, and all of a sudden that same site doubles in sales. It's the person. It's not the site, but you definitely need to do both. And for our site selection, We use heavy users of demographic data as well, and competitive data, because we're looking for lookalikes. We've found that sites that are successful seem to have the same type of people around them. Sites that are unsuccessful seem to have the same makeup. So they're just two things I like to add.
So, just another one thing that just came to my mind, because once you do that, and if some franchisees come to you from different areas, which might be different in communities or which might be different in the way they live in that particular city, would you encourage flexibility in your menu in terms of adding a product or changing a product?
100%. So when we moved to the US, so the United States, those that have been there, there's two things that people in the US like in food: big servings and sweet. So we had to adapt. We don't sell our small size, which sells really well in Australia. So we only go with the large. So we haven't even got the regular size anymore. So just one size, and we've had to add a lot of sweet dishes. And I'm assuming that when we come to this market, we're going, and everyone tells me, so I'm listening, we're going to have to add a few more spicy dishes to our menu. So.
But would you encourage that within a country?
Oh, I think you need to be adaptable. Yeah, I mean, only a fool would say this works in Australia, so it has to work in India. The Indians have got it wrong, but we would never, be so bold or so ignorant. And the same with the US. We'd adapt, and imagine if we go to the UK and set up in a Weatherspoon or something like that. We would have to adapt to the UK palate. And I mean, I see it here. McDonald's don't sell a meat burger here, which is the foundation of most other places.
So, John, have you adapted that in your systems? And was that a franchisee's advice or a offering, or is something that you realized as a company that we need to change that in that area?
Oh, yeah, I would echo what Grant said there. You have to go with your local market to an extent. So, as I said before, we don't change the way we operate our outlets. It's the same everywhere, but we do evolve the menu in particular on the food and the drink range. For example, in Scotland, for those of you that know the UK, there's a big difference between Scotland and England in terms of nationality, and that does extend to a few dishes. So the single biggest selling menu item in a Weatherspoon pub, ironically, is our traditional English breakfast. But in Scotland, it's a Scottish breakfast, and 2 or 3 of the ingredients have been changed for local market. It's not a big change. It doesn't really change the way we operate or assemble that meal, but those nuances make all the difference. And I think to be successful, you have to be alert to that. And if you're listening to the people that operate your outlets, they'll be the first to tell you where we need to make the changes.
Since you've been there, for so long, has it ever gone wrong?
How many times today? Yeah, it goes wrong every day. If you get things more right than wrong over time, then you'll win. And generally, I think that we try to avoid making too many decisions without consultation. Usually, if you listen to the people that are operating at the front line, they will filter what customers might want from you. So, they will tell you what customers want, but they kind of filter it through your brand. So, because customers want everything all the time, but they'll say that, but if you listen, they can filter that sensibly and come forward with suggestions that the company can implement. And usually if you do that, you don't go too far wrong. If you think you know better than your store manager or your customer, you'll fail eventually.
Yeah, thanks. So, when it comes to food, of course, there's a option of customization. In your case, does that really happen from the product side, or it's you have to in any case maintain hygiene, maintain accuracy, and you need to have your centralized system. So does that vary, or you only would do customization when it comes to pricing and selecting a right franchisee?
So this is very interesting. Like in certain markets, we definitely do the customization of the entry level packages, like
You mean pricing?
pricing as well as the contents of the package. Like some markets would like only sugar and PP. Some may not like a lipid profile with that, or some wants urine profile with that. So accordingly, we customize the base packages so that the entry and screening is so that we ensure that the customer is onboarded. So there is definitely angle of customization of pricing as well as packaging is there, as per the regional trends.
Okay. And in your case, does the pricing really help? I mean, do you really feel that it has to be different, like you said, that we went into a different pricing structure? Uh, where do you feel that does it, because like John said, if you're using something which is a centralized payment system or an app, it would create a difference. So how are you looking forward to manage that? Are you?
So I think first thing and the biggest thing that we have learned is that India is an extremely aspirational country. So if there's a service that is extremely popular in a city like Delhi or Mumbai, people in smaller towns and cities would also want that service. But the spending capacity could be potentially different between, say, a city like Delhi versus a small town in the state of Jharkhand. But that aspiration to use the services remain the same. So also, another big difference in India is that the input costs vary extremely. If you go to a city like Delhi, your rentals and your manpower costs are extremely high. But when you go to Odisha, the rentals and the manpower costs are significantly lower. So that, because the input costs are lesser, it allows us to reduce the pricing also, so that we are able to find traction in the market. And good thing is that with the kind of technology that is available, you can very easily, using latitude and longitude of any given location, you can very easily customize the pricing for that particular location. So the overall experience does not change. If I'm anywhere in Delhi, whether I'm in East Delhi or West Delhi, I would still get the same pricing. But the moment I move to a place, say in Rajasthan like Jodhpur, the pricing would be different. And technology today allows you to create customizations to any level, to any layer that you want. So we haven't faced that problem. In fact, we have been appreciated by customers. People have been moving around to different cities. They appreciate the fact that the pricing in a city like Delhi could be significantly different from a pricing in a city like Lucknow. Also, uh, what we have also done is, because I've heard other panelists talking about the fact that the overall business structure or the model doesn't change. But what we have realized is that in India, you also have to tweak your models, because again, different cities provide different challenges. So very recently we launched Baramulla and Kargil, and the problem there is that you get very, very small stores. You either get a 100 square feet plate, or you will get a 1,000 square feet plate. A 1,000 square feet will not justify your rentals. So again, the way the store looks in Delhi is very different to what our store in Baramulla or Kargil look like, where we have to push the machine to the back, because that's the only way you can operate a laundry store in 100 square feet. So I think uh, it's all driven by the franchisees and the local entrepreneur who believe in you, who believe in the industry, who want to lead that laundry revolution on the ground. And as a brand, we take it as our responsibility to ensure that they're able to do so.
Yeah. So when you work with so many of them, and I would, like each one of you to answer that, we tend to trust those existing franchisees a little more, which means that you would have one partner who run one unit and he looks forward to start another unit or take up multi-units together. Do you encourage that? And if you do, what are the parameters on which you kind of select him that, okay, you can be my partner who can open up, say, 3 to 5 units?
So, in fact, as a young brand, my answer is that we consider it a privilege. If somebody who has invested 25 lakhs in his first store, he comes back to us saying that we are happy with the support, we are happy with the brand, we are happy with the industry, and especially given the kind of industry that we are trying to build, and we would want to invest in a second outlet. So for us, it's almost a privilege that somebody is considering reinvesting their hard-earned money into starting a second Uclean. And the only thing that we look at is whether they have been a brand loyalist, someone who has been compliant with the agreement, with the brand standards that have been set. And if we see that that is already in place, then we are more than happy to award them a second franchisee.
What would be the percentage of people currently in your system? What would be the total number of your franchise units in India?
So about 29% of our franchisees have invested in more than one unit. They started with
Okay.
one and then they decided to invest in a second. There are some, like for example, the entire South Delhi is owned by one franchisee. So there are some who have gone on to open more than two also, but about 29% of them have at least more than one unit.
One plus unit. Okay. And
So for us, almost 10% people who are our existing partner and who wants to open more, either with their friends or with family. So there are few examples where between friends and family they run 10 stores as well. This selection criteria is where they understand the unit economics, they understand how to maintain the hygiene, how they are retaining the patients, and how they are approaching to the market. Because in diagnostics, you need to have very loyal customer base, and you need to generate leads every day. So that is very important for us to having partners who understand unit economics as well as managing their business very well. So we normally go with entrepreneurs who understand that and who has achieved a significant level of revenues. Like in our case, partners who do around 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs per month is a good revenue in diagnostics, 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs. So such partners we encourage to bring more. And our second most source of getting newer franchises is from the references, from existing franchises. Either their friends or their relatives they invest. Maybe they might invest in some other city. So these are very good important channels for us. And almost 10% people show their trust and they reinvest themselves. And almost 10 to 15% more leads we get from the existing people.
and how about you?
Well, as I said at the beginning, we're on the at the beginning of our journey, moving from operating all of our outlets ourselves to franchising. In the UK, we have one corporate franchisee who is the holiday park I mentioned, and that is owned by private equity, and they want to roll that out now in a much more aggressive way, which we're happy to support them with. Our other franchisees are individual; they're in universities, so they are single franchisees. And I think that as we look to expand, we're happy to go with both models. I think that an individual taking on a Wetherspoon pub and running it really well, there's certainly enough reward in it for an individual, but for companies as well that want to expand across a number of outlets. As long as the brand is implemented well and the passion is there, then we have no objections. Just a side issue, really, but my brother is an operations director for just about the largest McDonald's franchisee in the UK, and the passion that company has for that brand and every brand standard, they work every day to be better than the average, not worse than or even at the average. So I've seen through my own family members that a corporate franchisee can perform extremely well. So for Wetherspoon, we're open to both approaches.
We have two criteria for any franchise partner that wants to take on multiple sites. The first criteria is they need to offer equity to the person managing the second or third or fourth site. And if they don't want to offer equity, which sometimes they don't want to do, then they must offer profit share as well to the manager. We think that's critical because no one cares about your business like you do. And if I can back up from that, probably the first thing is they need to be running a successful site in the first place. So, we're not going to give them a second site if they haven't got the first site right. But I do notice that there's a bit of a different skill for those that can become successful multi-unit franchisees. And I think you can get by in your first restaurant or your first business through pure hard work. But to take on, in our case, they might be turning over $4 or $5 million. The businesses. So you need different set of skills there. Hard work alone won't get you by. So you need to be pretty good on the financial side. You need to be pretty good on the operational side. You need to be pretty good at managing people, because all of a sudden you've got a bigger team. It's not just the 10 in the restaurant. There's going to be 50 people that you've got to look after. So that's what we would look for before we would allow multi-units in our system.
And how many multi-unit franchisees are there in your system currently?
Yeah, it's only about 20%. So most of them are single unit operators. That's not by design or necessarily by choice. We'd love to have more, but we just are not confident that a lot of the franchisees that we've got are capable at this stage. But having said that, I think we need to own it a little bit. We haven't necessarily set up all the systems and processes and the teaching and the L&D to bring some of these people along, to teach them how to be multi-unit. So I think we need to get better as a company at doing that. And certainly for those that know Domino's, which is one of the biggest pizza chains, they've got a fantastic, which we're looking at, and I'd love to replicate, path to multi-unit franchising. And they talk about it, it's on their website, but they've got set criteria, and that criteria I just spoke about is one of them. So, equity or profit share.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have Ahasa with us. So would you like to tell us a bit, as to how do you really see companies going from 1 to 100, and what does it really take, from them to grow that fast to that numbers?
Yeah, first thing today, I think why franchising would be very important. If I had a franchisee today, I would have left it to my team and I would have been on time. Yeah. So I'm not. That gives you one big reason why you should be, you running a franchise, you be master of your own. So I represent a brand called Raymond India. We are a 99-year-old brand, probably the pioneers in franchising in this country. We also manage the largest franchisee brand in India called the Raymond Shop. I think one brand that you would see across the country in over 650 cities is TRS. We see generations after generations getting into the same business. So we have now the third and the fourth generations, taking care of the same shops that used to be there. So I think we also represent some of the most marquee locations in a particular city. So for us, it's not about going from 1 to 100. We also believe in making sure that the wealth creation for the franchisee is the most important goal for us. It's not only the shareholder who's sitting at the top, but also the people who've been responsible for taking the Raymond brand to every household. Suiting, be it shirting, home, linen, or even the new MBOs that we have. So we also run brands like Park Avenue, the Raymond Shop, Made to Measure. Then we have a ethnic category brand called Ethnics. So we have multiple of those brands, Raymond Ready to Wear. The whole idea is that we do a very good mix of company-owned, franchisee-owned stores, and we live together. For us, unit economics definitely makes sense, but then we have very, very strict criteria on how do we give a second franchisee to any of our partners. So we evaluate them on merit basis, the kind of SOPs that are being followed, how many consumers came into your store, were they able to shop, what's your bill per, the BPO that we call, the average ticket size, what is the kind of inventory that you have, what is the kind of sale that you do during, the end of season sale. How are you keeping the store interiors? Because all of it is reflected in the brand. When people like you and I come to a Raymond store, they are not looking at that store from the lens of whether it's a franchisee-owned store or a company-owned store, right? For them, it's a brand. So our criteria are very simple. If you qualify, and we do rigorous audits every year, and hence we have franchises running for over 35, 40 years also, for one brand. Now that's, even before I was born, there are shops that are still in India running. So from the grandfather to the father, now to the son. And I'm pretty sure their sons will also get into this. So we have created a lot of wealth for franchises in this country. And we want to make sure that every franchisee that we onboard is through merit. The new franchisee that we onboard is predominantly through our own network. Because if you like a franchisee, you believe you create wealth, you tell it to 10 people. So it's very important to make sure that your franchisees remain happy. It's not about only making money for your own brand, but passing on the fruits of development, your own money to people who stood by you during COVID time, good, bad times. Yeah.
So, what is a percentage, of people who would own multiple outlets as well of one particular brand and across the brand product portfolio?
So for the Raymond shop, which I would specifically talk about, we have over 1,050 Raymond shops. At least one fifth of people actually have multiple interests in our brand, and they continue to grow with us every time. We are also inviting the first generation entrepreneurs to join the bandwagon of Raymond. So we also have a very good mix of young people who are in their 30s running shops and people who are in their 50s also running shops together. There are friends and families of those people who have joined. So the community still continues to be small because it's all referral. But yeah, so we have people running through Fofos, Cofos, FormG. So multiple arrangements that we have done for franchisees.
Great. So that's a good number to bank on, and there's a lot to learn, from the brand. Understand. So, what is the concentration? It's about 650 cities that you
Yeah,
cover.
that is the Raymond shop. Yeah, so even in a tier 4 or a tier 5, one brand that you would see would be the Raymond shop. We are typically the first brand to enter any city or a town in this country. And after Raymond only comes Bata and Domino's and other brands. So yeah, we are literally the pioneers of modern trade in India or in Bharat.
So, do you do customization when it comes to pricing of probably the same product available in different cities?
No, so that would not be right from a consumer perspective. I think a shirt which is pricing 2,999 rupees, we can't sell it for 3,500 in a select city walk and do a cut price in a tier 4. It would feel like we are literally not doing justice to our consumer. However, the range has to be played very well. If you are getting into tier 4 and tier 5s, the kind of shirt pricing that you have continues to be the same, but then the SKUs would be different. In a tier 5 of Bharat, people may or may not be very fashionable, so you have to be little adjusted to them. The shades of gray, black, they would take the front side, whereas if you go to cities, oranges and reds and yellow palettes are more often sold. People in smaller towns would prefer fabric, whereas in major metros, people would prefer colors and fabric and all of that. But yeah, they are more inclined towards being very fashionable. So our inventory has to be adjusted accordingly. Our prices do not get adjusted. It won't be fair.
Okay. So, when you come up with sales or when you come up with certain offers, it's the same across India.
No, again, the offer also depend on the kind of people, especially during the end of season sale. If you believe a certain segment needs a larger push, the offers would be customized to that particular town or a city. In metros where we believe we have a very, very strong presence, we may not be able to run very aggressive offers because the products are being sold accordingly, right? So when you believe your inventory are being sold, no brand, I believe, in this country follows the flat promotion strategy. I think it's very customized to the people that you are really catering to.
Okay. So, would like to ask one thing from all of you. What is it? What would be a two advice that you would want to give to a company who's looking forward to grow in your own segments? We can start from you.
Advice from the brand side.
So, if there are companies, because we have franchise companies in the audience, wherein they are running their companies themselves, they're young franchisers. So, what advice you would give to them in terms of making them understand what does it really take you to, grow?
I think the first advice would be that it's your hard-earned money. Please make sure that you do very, very good due diligence of the brand. The brand that you are trying to get into for franchising, you should have a natural love for that category. It isn't like that you do not love food and you start getting a food franchisee. So one, you should yourself be very passionate about the brand that you're trying to sell for decades. Yeah, so that is one. The other is do your proper market research. Talk to your friends and family. Ask them if this is the product that you are going to take. What is the future going to be? Deep dive, talk to people who are in those industries, talk to your peers who are franchising the similar product. Unless you are absolutely sure of it, do not put your money. And when you are sure of it, go for it and give your level best as if there is no tomorrow. So give your level best. That is the only thing. Do not cut short. Do not think that it is just one of those things that you are trying to do here and then you don't give your time. Franchising does require a lot of your time, money, everything.
Yeah, so that's from a franchisee perspective. I'm
Right.
saying from a company perspective who's already franchising their own,
Okay.
products and services. What would you kind of tell them to take care of once they look for, hiring franchisees or selecting them for few locations, or, what needs to be done initially in a company, you know, particularly from a retail point of view, since you have, particularly in apparel, is there any learning as a company that these are the things that should not be negotiated upon while you're franchising out your format?
Okay, from our perspective, I think irrespective of who the franchisee partner is, we don't want to go down on our SOPs. That is for sure. It is not like that in a city when we are unable to sell a franchisee, we give discounts or we cut short on whatever we have decided as a company. So the DNA of the organization has to be intact, and this is what I keep telling everybody in the market, that when you are franchising or when you are a company like Raymond, do not for smaller gains cut short what you have built for over 99 years. And that is one piece of advice that I would also give it to the franchisee. Also for them, even if we are offering a brand, the location has to be yours. You have to live with the location, so you have to be absolutely sure that the location, that you are taking for your brand is viable for you. The rental that we are proposing is viable for you. So irrespective of a very large company giving you a franchisee brand, do your own due diligence. Make sure that those numbers that we are giving you are sustainable. Do not just go by any brand's revenue expectation. Build your own. Understand whether you will be able to manage it. Do you have enough working capital, and how are you spreading your wings? If you get all the questions right, then only go for it.
Okay, thanks. Aruna, what would you have as an advice?
So I think franchising is a very dangerous beast. It's very tempting when you look at it from the outside, but once you start scratching the surface, the actual layers start coming in. So I think my biggest learning has been that the journey from 0 to 10, 10 to 100, and 100 to 1000 are going to be very, very different. The same team that has taken you from 0 to 10 and potentially from 10 to 100 might not be able to take you from 100 to 1000. So that is one area that you might need to very strongly rethink. Same goes with technology, same goes with the systems and processes. When you are doing the 0 to 10 journey, you might be someone that is super flexible. From 10 to 100, you become not so flexible uh, with respect to the way you handle your franchisees. And then from maybe 100 to 1000, you actually become rigid because you have systems in place. You have tested out the systems. There are people who believe in the system. So from 100 to 1000, you need to be extremely stringent with what you are doing. But I think personally, the most important advice is that as an entrepreneur, you need to ask yourself whether you are cut out for franchising or not. Because franchising means there is going to be tremendous amount of stakeholder management. Uh, Everyone who takes a franchisee is an entrepreneur. He's a clone of your brand. He has his pride, he has his ego. Are you someone who is available to handle that? Are you someone who can take that pressure? So I think beyond the systems, the processes, the technology, the most important question that you need to ask yourself is whether you are someone who's cut out for franchising, whether you are someone who will be able to handle the pressure that comes along with franchising.
As my co-panelist has elaborated many things, so I will use the acronym of PLSAT. So P, as John Lee said, person behind the franchise is very important. So the inclusion criteria, selection of the person who has a bit of knowledge in this segment is very important. So person is P. L is location. Location of the store is very, very important. So which micro catchment you are going, what are the clientele you are going to address, that is very important. So L is location. S is your SOPs. SOPs are very important for any business. Be it billing, be it pricing, be it your marketing, be it digital approach. So SOPs has to be there. Then A is activities. What activities you are going to do to support the store by the company as well as by the owner. So A is activity is very, very important. And T is time. How much time you are going to devote to your business. How much time company is willing to invest in this business. That is very important. So at least for entrepreneurs, I will say you should be prepared to be in business for at least 2 to 3 years. Then you will see real good results. Because any good business to stabilize will take 1000 days. 1000 days is a real good benchmark where you will see real good earnings as well as your reputation will build. So PLSAT is our mantra.
Yeah, I guess whether your brand is 99 years old or, in our case, 45 years old or younger, everyone here that's offering franchises has worked very hard to develop their product, their business, and I guess it's tempting to take money, but you've got to be very careful about giving away your brand and what you've produced. So you want to find people that share your vision. It is genuinely a partnership. What we have learnt in our short time in franchising is you have to be prepared to putting an awful lot of time. Nothing comes easy. To bring a franchisee up to speed and to get them to buy into your culture and your vision isn't easy. And you give that away for free. You can't charge for that. That's what you've got to be prepared to do for them. So you have to think about your own resourcing up front. But I would say if you do that and that is part of your philosophy, then you can keep it growing. And once you're in the groove, it's the flywheel effect. It should get easier. We hope anyway.
I think there's only one constant in successfully growing a franchise network business, and that is, and I just want to quote our purpose at Concept 8, the company I work for, and our purpose is to enable the aspirations and dreams of our franchise partners. So I'll repeat that, to enable the aspirations and dreams of our franchise partners. We heard that there's about 20,000 people came through those doors yesterday, and there's another 20,000, I guess, going to come through today. And as they're walking into that door, they're coming here with a dream to own their own business, to be successful, to make money, educate their kids, be financially stable. And I think it's our duty, it's our role as a franchisor to enable that dream, to enable that aspiration. And, if you want to put your self-interest first, stay private, don't franchise. But remember, and I think I've seen some franchisors make that mistake where they forget that it's actually the franchisee's business. They've put up the money. That's the beauty of the franchise system. So it's their business. It's not ours. Yes, they have to run it the way we want it run. And so it's a partnership in that respect. And I can tell you that all the decisions made at Concept 8, all the big decisions, are in this order. Is this decision going to be beneficial to our franchise partner? Tick. Is it going to be beneficial to our team? Tick. So that's the team that work at Concept 8. And lastly, and I'm serious about this, is it beneficial to our shareholders? Because if it's beneficial to the franchise partners, it's going to flow through. But if you get that pyramid upside down and your decisions are, is this better for me, for the company, for the shareholder, it may be in the short term. You may be able to do some things in the short term that increase the profitability. But I can tell you in the long term, you're going to end up without a business.
Well said. Thank you so much, everybody. I think it was really interesting to have those insights, and particularly because you belong to different companies, different products, different services, different countries. So thank you so much. It's been really informational. Thank you.